You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. I want to talk about what's happening in the state of Maryland. Again, we talk about when you have public policy, when the folks are in control, and for a lot of us, we want to put the right people in place. And so in Maryland, they are trying to address what is happening in this country when it comes to police. And so they are moving forth a new bill that I've been watching that will create criminal penalties for cops who intentionally use excessive force. This, Candace, is something that is important because, look, you have these contracts, you have too many cases where officers are not being penalized for their actions, but you've got to have something in place holding them accountable for their actions. Now, again, the Maryland Senate Committee passed this bill that would create these particular penalties, okay? Not only when it comes to excessive force, but also if they would use excessive force, but also fail to intervene to stop colleagues or refuse to aid someone wounded by police. The proposal is among a slate of major police legislation, and leaders in the Maryland General Assembly have vowed to pass this session. Also being considered is a mandate for all police officers in the state to wear body cameras. Changes to the Maryland Public Information Act to allow access to some police disciplinary and internal affairs records, and a repeal of the Maryland Law Enforcement Officers Bill of Rights. That would be substantial towards moving us to accountability.
That would be huge precedent. That would be huge precedent because that's what we're looking right now when we look next week at the Chauvin trial or March 8th, whenever we begin it. But we're looking at police officers that not are just doing the crime and violating somebody's rights, killing them ultimately in many cases, but also those police officers who are standing around. And that's what we're going to see on March 8th. So this is really a testament to the way that people are thinking. And if this goes through, this is going to be a huge deal. What's unfortunate is that the laws on the books don't deal with this properly, so that police officers keep getting away with it, except when you're talking about civil rights. When it comes to federal civil rights, they're penalized financially. OK, so this is going to be a huge precedent and a step in the right direction so that we can hold police officers accountable for the crimes that they have committed, because the system that is in place right now is not working, which is why they always get away. So this is something that we're going to be looking at in terms of this bill as precedent, if it is passed, and also something just to keep in mind when we look at March 8th and we look at the trial of Derek Chauvin. And what would happen if we were in a state where something like this law existed, if passed? It's a huge deal.
Michael, I always say this, that, and this is where people have to realize, you have Republican activists who they pass things to serve as the basis for now spreading it across the country.
Right.
If Maryland moves forward with this, now you have a template for what you can then carry forward in other states.
Yep. Yeah, it's a test case. It's a test case. And this article from the Baltimore Sun is a excellent article that details what's being proposed. What I think is important also is to talk about not just how this will benefit the community if you put this in place, if you put this bill in place, but also talk about how this bill will benefit the police officers who want to root out corruption in the police department as well. The reason why I say that is the police union is going to do what it does. Usually they stick up for police officers regardless of whether right or wrong. But you oftentimes have officers in the department that don't agree with the police union. Okay? So show how this bill is going to benefit all parties as well. But this right here, man, if they pass this in the state legislature, this becomes a template for across the country. So this is something significant.
Rob?
No, I actually completely agree with that, and it needs to pass. And Roland, you made a really great point earlier that Republicans, they start in a few places and then they spread it out, and then suddenly ideas that were crazy even 5 years ago are commonplace for Republicans now. Like what they're doing in Georgia would have been thought of as crazy 4 or 5 years ago, but now you're going to see that happen. I guarantee all across.
No, I got to correct you. What they're doing in Georgia is what North Carolina did.
But
so North Carolina did it. It became the standard operating procedure for Republicans, and they were kind of like, oh, well.
But it wasn't that long ago. The point is they keep moving the ball. Like this is.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
I said, oh yeah. They gonna always move the goalposts.
I mean, they
always.
Yeah, they move forward. They come up with a template and they spread all across the country. They have the organization ALEC. At least that's what the organization used to be, really big. And they would put that, and they would write the legislation, and they would go all across the country. Right after President Obama became president, they said, we got to make sure this doesn't happen again. So that's when they really started pushing these bills to make it harder and harder for people to vote. And they've kept stepping up and stepping it up. What Democrats need to do is do the opposite. What we want to do is actually have people vote. We believe in this thing called democracy where people participate. And then the voters get to decide instead of just figuring out which voters you want to vote and preventing the others from voting. That's what Republicans believe in because that's just what they're hanging on to. But Democrats have to be more aggressive. They have to be more proactive. And when it comes to everything, police accountability, when it comes to elections being transparent and being open for everybody, and I think we have to start doing model legislation and really pushing it when we have power. Because when Democrats have power, they ask, well, what are Republicans going to think? And then when Republicans have power, they say, let's do it. Who cares what anybody else thinks?
Simple as that.
And Roland,
yeah, go ahead.
What this also sheds light on is the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, because there are a lot of things in this bill that fills in the holes when you look at what the Policing Act is proposing to do. So this is a great time for those who are behind that particular bill, which has some great things, but to look at Maryland for what they're doing, because it's definitely more progressive.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. And so that's what we have to keep paying attention to because, again, folks, look, if you keep waiting on Congress to do something, you might be waiting a very long time. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.